Sex does not own a ladder. Sex, what you call love, romance, hand-holding, boy-girl contact, does not own a ladder. It has no inspiration or aspiration, whatever. Let me tell you what it does have. It has memory. When you think about anything connected with sex and sweethearts, I will tell you what you're doing, and you know it. You're thinking today the way you thought yesterday. Maybe a little sadder, right? Nothing has changed. Your nature hasn't changed. And all of you, both you men and you women, therefore, suffer not only from memory, but from another part of your mind, which is called, heaven help you, it is called hope. When you think about any area of male-female relations, it's the sex act itself, anything, I want you to know that you never do anything original. You never do anything new. Now, if you're thinking in the basement of your mind, low level, if you're thinking from there, how do you expect the result to be anything higher than that? Please, remember the fundamentals that we talk about here and connect them with the subject of sex and sweetheart. My dear lady, you and your dreams of the knight in the armor. You always get someone who falls off the horse, right? Do you dare give up hoping, dreaming, ladies, about that marvelous man? He doesn't exist for you. And you, and you, and you, and you. He doesn't exist for you. You're going to get someone who is you. Pretty terrifying, isn't it? That what you're going to get is a man, oh, good heavens, a man who thinks on your level. You know what you won't do? You won't know your level. You won't know that you hope, ladies, you hope to find a man who is nobler than you are. How would you ever recognize him? You're gullible too. You know, these men, ladies, they can be pretty smooth when they want to get you into the bedroom. I've been watching you men during this banquet this weekend. I've been watching you. I can read your eyes, and I can read your minds. What do you expect when all you have, all of you, both men and women, what do you expect when all you have is a repetitious mind, which is going to bring you into a repetitious situation with a man or with a woman? The situation seems to you now. I know it. I know how it looks to you. It seems hopeless. Something outside of sex, love, romance, marriage, hand-holding, smooching. You like that word? You like that act? Something higher than that is going to have to control your life. You would rather believe in hope than listen to what I am telling you. You've been reading too many love novels. You've been watching too many TV shows. They don't all, as you should know by now, end that happy. Sometimes not even on TV when they get realistic. You will not, you refuse to see something higher than your memory mind as it connects with sex and sweethearts. Okay, you men just as much. I'm talking to both of you. All right. Now, I am telling you right now that if you refuse to go above memory, repetition, hope, over and over again, unless you go above it, you have doomed yourself to find someone just like you, and you sense what you're like. You crummy men back there in the back row, you know what you're like. Ladies, what do you think they have to give you? Look at them. Better yet, don't look at them. You're looking in the wrong direction, aren't you? Every one of you ladies here can look at any man out there, give him a big, beauteous smile, and he'll fall down. Right? He's so hungry for the wrong thing, what he calls love. The slightest gesture of even friendship, and he goes crazy. And he'll watch you out of the corner of his eye as you dance around. As you walk around. Won't you men? Haven't you been doing it? You men might as well understand. You're in a different place than you've ever been in your life before. You are being watched. And all it takes with most of you is one quick glance, and I know the whole story. You don't have to look very long to understand what's going through you men's mind. And also, you men, I'm talking to you now, you even think that you're clever enough to make it a quick glance so that no one sees you. You can help yourself by knowing that in this room, sorry men, something is more intelligent than you are. And you're not very intelligent to begin with. You are not, however, forever and eternally tied to your repetitions in dealing with a man or with a woman. You can begin to get tired. Now look, careful. You can begin to be very weary of repetitious you that brings about repetitious contacts with men and with women, and which therefore creates repetitious heartaches. No human being, male or female, on the face of this earth has a thing to give you. You think so. You've tried it. How come you're not weary? You're holding out, that's why. See, You're afraid of reality. You're afraid to get so worried because you still want to cling to the final hope that there's, well, of all several hundred men or women I've met, maybe one of them will turn out to be right. Something like that. Do you know what the word drastic means? You may know what the word means because you can look it up in the dictionary, but you don't know what the experience means to be drastic. Spiritually. If you did, you would never think about a man. You would never think about a woman. You would never think about sex except at the right time and place. Because you have nothing real when it comes to sex and sweethearts. Because you have nothing real. You fill your mind with trash. Don't you? Doesn't that go through your mind all the time, gentlemen? Since 8 o'clock this morning, for example. Oh, I am looking at a room full of poverty-stricken men and women. Who thinks that there's richness in looking at a woman dancing out on that floor? Who think that there's richness in looking at her slyly out of the corner of your eye and lusting after her? Or wondering if maybe at the dinner table you'd be accidentally placed next to her and your hands might touch just for a minute? You poor pathetic people. Why do you go through life pleading? I'll tell you why. You have nothing better. I told you at the very start that your sexual parts, thoughts, feelings, relations with other people has no ladder. It cannot go above itself. Now look where this leads us. See, the mind is mechanical, right? Emotions, desires are all mechanical. You look out and maybe you girls see a man that looks attractive to you and maybe you think he'll take care of you and be nice to you. And it's the old mechanical story again. Haven't you noticed how worried you are the minute you look at a man or a woman and say, maybe I can have her? Do you know what a real man or a real woman can do? You could be right in this room with one man could be in this room with 100 women that he thinks attractive and he'd like to have. And he could sit over in the corner and sip his punch and eat a cookie. And refuse. Do you understand? You cowardly men. You pathetic creatures. You go into dreams about that situation that I just set up. You say, well, 100 women out there on the law of averages, maybe one of them will go for me. If you're lucky. And even if she did, you'd fight. How long will it take? A couple hours? You cannot, listen, you cannot change anything connected with sex and sweethearts and romance and marriage and so on. You cannot do a single thing about it. All you can do is go around in the familiar circle, never having a new thought toward women, toward men. Never having authentic confidence. You know what confidence is? Let me tell you what confidence is before we miss that. You listen to this. Confidence is nothing more nor less than the spirit of truth. as if your intellect has confidence. All it has is schemes. If I bring her a box of chocolates and a dozen roses, I am giving her a gift, and that will influence her kindly toward me. She thinks I'm nice, and maybe I'll get sex from her. Look, come on. I know that you can't think that directly. You'd be afraid to see what I just said. Because then you'd see what a little schemer you are, and that's unacceptable to your self-image of being a nice man. Gentlemen, it's way back here, isn't it? Why do I bring her chocolates and flowers and be nice to her and take her to dinner and compliment her pretty dress? Why do I do that? You say, well, I do that because I'm a nice man. I'm a proper suitor. Where'd that word come from? Courter. Boyfriend. That's what a man does. He's nice to a girl. Well, I'm being nice. What do you want, man? She knows. Do you think women are that stupid? She knows. All right. Therefore, if you cannot break the repetitious pattern, how are you ever going to get off the merry-go-round, which you're now on, of looking at a picture of a pretty girl or a handsome man and going into yearning? Oh, again, I can't tell you how pathetic you are. You don't know the low level that you're living. And until you see it, you will not have the inclination, the spiritual ambition to climb to a higher level. Do you remember this morning I talked about a position you must get yourself into in which you simply give up, where you don't try to do anything anymore? All your plans, all your schemes, all your hopes and all your dreams, all that has been dropped. And oh, what a crash it makes. It doesn't happen overnight, of course. It happens over a period of time. But what a crash it makes. You remember the man walking along the spiritual highway and the metals fell off and his money fell off as it started to roll away off the sidewalk down into the gully where the other people were waiting. You'll have to get to this point yourself, where you're walking along the highway as far as sex is concerned, as far as romance, as far as having a decent relationship with a woman, in which all your old accumulations, all your daydreams, the dreams, you don't even know how you dream wrongly about men and women. When they go, you have transcended your mind with its repetitious behavior. And you are not trying anymore to get anything from a man or from a woman because you have put God first. Then, and only then, gentlemen, can you sit off in that corner over there and sip your punch and look at those 100 pretty girls walking in front of you and just know that they are there, period. It doesn't go any farther than that because you know better than to fall into the same stupid trap again. When are you going to learn to stop falling into it? Gentlemen, yearning is burning, right? You want her. Why do you torment yourself? You are doing it. You love it. This is your pastime. Out of the corner of your eye, out of the corner of your mind. Let me ask you ladies something. Do you ladies know that men are schemers? Do you know that? Do you know what they want from you? Look, I'm talking about sex. I'm talking about sexual relations. Do you know what they want from you? Ladies, you need never, ever surrender yourself to a man sexually in thinking that it's going to do a thing for you. It won't, and you should know it by this time. The man has nothing to give you if that is his first, last motive, which it is. See, where's your common sense? I know where it is. It's pushed out the window by the thought of one night of love. And that's what you'll get. You'll get one night of love. Now I'll tell you, ladies, listen to me. Why do you cherish the heartache of a broken romance? I told you at the very start that the sex parts, sex life, has repetition. Think of the men, come on, you don't have to say anything, you don't have to raise your hand. Think of the men, ladies, that you've been involved with ever since you grew up a little bit. Think of all the men you've been involved in. Every one of them, I don't care even if you're married. I know that. I know there's no difference even if you're married. Every one of them resulted in pain, wishing you were out of it, that sort of thing, wasn't it? Now you know this. You are not that stupid in that area. You know very well that getting involved with him is going to end up the same way. Now you try to get out of it, ladies. You try to get out the fact that you are indeed in love with the cycle. Boy meets girl. Boy and girl fight. Boy and girl walk away from each other. Girl cries, man gets mad, or whatever it is. I've given you a tremendous clue, ladies and gentlemen, too. See, there's something quite wrong with you. Now, try to make a leap, because I'm going to make a leap in my words. And this connects very much to the subject of sex and sweetheart. It is absolutely essential, if you're ever going to straighten out your relationships with the opposite sex, it is essential for you to look and to see and to understand that you are a lover of hell. Well, what would you call the tears after the breakup, which is inevitable? What would you call it? Heaven? Gentlemen, ladies, what's wrong with you? Well, you know what's wrong, and I'll tell you if you don't know. You're spiritually isolated. You're lost. You're not living with your real nature. There's something in you that is wandering out there, and oh, how that lost nature thrives on the excitement of meeting, fighting, and walking away from each other. You're not godly at all. You're all very anti-spiritual. Well, again, would you call it spiritual to keep up this repetitious pattern? Now, the problem is this. Being so caught, so pressed down by repetitious memory, which can only do what it always did. What happened on Wednesday happens on Tuesday and on Thursday, just repetition. This is all you have. Memory cannot break memory. Hope cannot break hope. Tragedy cannot break tragedy. Heartache cannot break heartache. Will you then dare to walk against the crowd of thoughts in your mind? 100,000 are coming out of the football stadium, right? and you're out in the parking lot and you remember you left something valuable inside, it's you against 100,000. Now look, you turn around out in the parking lot and the first man or woman comes towards you going in the opposite direction. A very small glance from him or her of disapproval can make you turn around and start walking back to your car, right? If there's 100,000, that leaves 100,000 less one to keep going. I'm looking at the clock. It's 20 minutes after 2 on this Saturday afternoon. I highly recommend that you don't waste another minute. That you turn around and start walking regardless of the consequences. That's not up to you what happens. It's up to you to start walking. So, that maybe sometime, gentlemen, you're over there on the wall and you see a girl in this group, or a girl out in the street, across the room in the cafe, and you see a woman that you really like, she's your type, and she's pretty, that you put your life before her. That you put your life before that thought about her. Same thing, ladies. Unless you were an astute, alert thought watcher, the whole thing will get away from you and you'll be gone. You'll be seated in the cafe and you just got there and the waitress brings your dinner. You see the girl across and she's alone too. And you remember the movie or something happened where they got together and you go into the movie hoping that she'll ask for the salt and that'll be the opening. You go from salt to sex already without revealing it to yourself. And before you know it, your dinner is gone and you didn't even know you had it. Because your mind wasn't here, your mind wasn't now in the dinner in front of you. You might try eating consciously sometime. Instead of like the cookie girl this morning, who ate it unconsciously. I'm giving you the beginning system for breaking the pattern. Breaking the pattern will put you in great agony. Oh, my imagination about that girl, she's got dark hair, she looks pretty. You scheming rascals out there. And she looks weak. She's got a weak look on her face. And that's just what you want, isn't it? Ladies, don't you forget that there's something very animalistic about those men. They're looking to take you. Well, what do you think they have to give you outside of an evening? Or maybe outside of marriage, maybe even? Or paycheck every once in a while? I think, this is it. You've got your time zones mixed up. You think, that's it? Sure. You think that you're in this life to live a happy life with a man. You understand, let me change it real abruptly. It's not wrong to want a man. I'm talking about the kind of man you're going to get and have got, huh? Nod your heads, every one of you. You've got your time zones mixed up. You see, there is such a thing as a spiritual order of progression. There's such a thing as first things first. First thing, second thing, third thing, and so on. And ladies, a man is maybe about 50th. Where are you putting him? You think he's the answer to your problem? Let's see. Have you ever had a romance with a man, ladies? And there he was, right with you, and a pang of loneliness went through you? there he was, facing you, right across the dinner table, and you felt lonely. Do you know why that is, by the way? Because you don't have any strength in yourself, and 5 minutes after meeting him, you know that he doesn't have any. Make that 2 minutes. Because you caught him looking at you, hoping that you had strength. Oh, let me give you some very definite advice, ladies. If you ever see a man looking at you for strength, pick up your purse and run out fast. Leave him to pay the check, of course. Putting reality, the facts as they are, first will cause you great internal disruption. Both of you, both men and women. You won't want to go through it, but when you do go through it, the marvels that will be revealed to you, and I'm not getting poetic, I'm getting factual, where you are a real man. And never again, gentlemen, will you sell your soul, will you sell a part of it to one night in the bedroom with that pretty woman. Oh, gentlemen, the look on your face will change when you're a real man. She will read that expression and she will say, thank heaven. Thank heaven I've met a man instead of a weakling, instead of a man, instead of a lostling. I've met a man who loves God more than he loves me. Thank God for that. You're not going to recognize him until you're on a higher level yourself. How are you going to know him? All you know is idiots. Idiots attract idiots. Right? Well, past experiences. Go up. It seems that there is something bad about pain. I want you to know that there is something good about pain consciously experienced. Now that leads us to where you can begin to alter all your thinking, all your acting, all your seeing toward men or toward women. Where you look at a person of the opposite sex with desire, but the first time in your life you knew you were looking with desire. And therefore, for the first time, you knew that desire had taken over your life. And then you go on to use your memory properly and say, that desire has never been satisfied by me pursuing that man or that woman subtly as I did before. Pain in relationship to a man or woman consciously experienced is a totally different kind of experience. That pain that you suffer from not allowing yourself to go into romantic daydreams about him or that pain eventually begins to fade because the very conscious observation of it is a push that pushes out the automatic control that it's had over your life. And indeed, at the beginning, there's just that little tiny fraction of a space in your mind that the new light, the truth can come in to occupy. You have to do your lessons. How do you expect to learn history, geography, science, or anything else without studying the lessons? There are spiritual lessons. You don't want the lessons. You want to remain ignorant so that you can remain as you are, which means that you worship self-destructive ignorance. How pathetic. Again, as our time is about up, understand 2 or 3 summary points. 1, you can't save yourself. Yourself, what you call yourself, is the repetition, the swirling of the same thoughts. They go and they come back again, the same level, the same nature of the thoughts. You cannot save yourself. There's no self to save you, and furthermore, there's no self to be saved by a non-existent you. Understanding that, you stop. Understanding that, looking at that woman across the room or looking at that handsome man across the room, understanding that there's no satisfaction at all in thought about sex, about love, about marriage, understanding that stops. Now here's a great problem. But I don't want to deny myself the sheer pleasure of thinking about holding her in my arms. Oh, with all the emotions. Both of you. I don't want to deny myself the pleasure of the sexual act itself. Some pleasure. The hungry man, the starving man is standing outside the bakery window, wanting all those cakes and breads and sweet cakes in the window. Why do you stand outside on the sidewalk and look in and torment yourself? Something wrong with your hunger then, isn't there? Understanding everything that we've talked about weakens the flow of you. Weakens the flow of you - desire, which are the same thing. Weakens the flow until a little bit of mental, spiritual insight begins to see what I have called pleasure is my hell. That man on the sidewalk looking through the window at those sweet cakes, he's tormenting himself, isn't he? Isn't he? Why do you torment yourself lusting after a woman, lusting after a man? Why do you do it? Because pain has become your pleasure. Now, is that stupid or intelligent? The simplest of levels tell you that that is stupid. But I don't have anything else but those pleasures. You're trying to take everything valuable away from me. See how you lie to yourself. Then the next time that happens, I order you to catch the lie and identify it as a total falsehood. Even if you can do it, oh, please listen, even if you can do it weakly at first. This talk that you've heard this afternoon is very, very frightening to the sex devils, to the devils that control sex, that work with you through your sexual parts. A good deal of hostility has been aroused in the sex devils in both men and women here today. That's part of the voices talking to you. And they'll try to lie to you. As a matter of fact, they have lied to you throughout this talk. I know that, because I know how your minds work. I am telling you something different. I want you to be aware of the lies that go through your mind after the talk. I want you to be aware that they're trying to steal away from you the gold that you have obtained here today about sex and sweethearts. The very awareness of it will begin to weaken it, and our time is up. All of you men are complete failures as men regarding women. You're no good at all, as a matter of fact. And that's no exaggeration, that's just a fact. All of you men, every one of you, I know you. Whether you came here for the first time or not, I know what you're like. I know the extremely low level of masculinity in this world. Now, it is a fact, to start with, that you're a failure as a husband, as a boyfriend, as a lover, as a sex partner, as a man who has a woman in his life. You pitiful objects who venerate, revere, fall in love, what you call fall in love, with a woman, and you don't even know that she despises you. You have all these, you men have your romantic ideas too, just as the ladies do. You have all these romantic ideas as to how nice it would be to have a woman on your terms. Do you know what your terms means to her? Do you know what it means to her? Well, after about 3 days of knowing you, it means another experience of being trapped, indeed of boredom, and of disappointment and shock, which is her fault, by the way. She should have known better than to get mixed up with you in the first place. To find what you sense but don't know what to do anything about, which is that you are a fake. Do you ladies understand that a man does the same thing you do in his romantic daydreams? You dream about the nice, strong, good-looking, and strong man, strong inwardly, you understand? Well, he has his same idealistic images about the woman. What she should be like, of course, beautiful, attractive in every way. And primarily, of course, at least in there somewhere, a woman who just loves him the way he presently thinks and acts. And so two fake people get together and cry. See, now, here's the reason why you both of you, men and women, get all mixed up with the opposite sex. You remember I've told you many times that you think, and everyone thinks, that the kind of life they presently live is the only kind of life that is possible for them. The life of ego competition, of faking it out in the world, of running away from your inner responsibilities to grow by getting involved in the world out there. Because you fake your life in general, you also fake your love life. Now, I want you to listen carefully, both of you, because it applies obviously to both of you, what I'm going to say to you next. Because this is one of those things that is so clear you can't see it. Did you consciously notice this wall here today? You didn't. You looked, but you didn't see. You could do it right now if you want to. You can look and know that you're looking at the wall. You can see what it's like there, the color, the lines in it, and so on. See, there's a difference now. You are looking at something consciously without just glancing around the room. Up till now, you have made a dreadful assumption. Unless you correct that, the repetition will continue, or you'll meet a woman, gentlemen, and you'll have a little sex maybe, or a little marriage maybe, and you cry. Now here it is, and I'm going to illustrate it for you, so you won't miss it. A man's walking down the street and he doesn't have any money. And he sees a big factory there, and he sees some workers coming out, and they're counting their paycheck. And he sees them counting $20 bills, $20 bills, and $10 bills. He says, hey, that's pretty good. I think I will go get some money too. So he goes into the factory and goes to the office, the paymaster, and he says, I'd like a paycheck. The paymaster says, okay, it's Friday. Give me your name and company number, and we'll give you a check. And the man says, oh, I don't have any company number. I have a name. And the paymaster says, well, do you work here? And the man says, no, I don't work here. And the paymaster looks at him a little bit oddly and walks away. And the man walks away. And he goes down the street a little bit. And he sees a baseball team being formed, a professional baseball team. And he read in the paper how much money baseball players make nowadays. $1 million a season for eight months, 4 months vacation. Oh, that's pretty good. So he goes into one of the coaches and he says, okay, here I am. I'm ready to play baseball. I'll settle for $600,000 the first year. And the manager looks at him a little bit. He says, well, who'd you play for? The Phillies or the Dodgers or whoever? He said, I don't know about that. All I know is that I want a paycheck for playing baseball. And the manager walks away and the man walks away. Now listen, men. See, that's an absurd situation, but no more absurd than you are. You think that the way you are now is the way that qualifies to meet a woman, talk intelligently with her, have her look at you and understand what you're like. You think that it's all automatic. You think that nothing has to be done. That man has to work in that factory in order to get a paycheck, doesn't he? He has to qualify for being an expert pitcher or center fielder or whatever in order to play on the baseball team in order to get $1 million a year. Now, don't you dare, men, don't you dare miss this, because if you go out and don't get what I'm telling you, then you're going to break your own heart and of some woman again, as you've already done many times in the past, or maybe just once or twice, and you're angry that you haven't done it more because no woman liked you or something, and can you blame them for it? You are not born into this world qualified to be a real man toward a woman. It does not happen because you grow up. I'm not talking about natural sex. That comes easy. I'm not talking about being nice to a woman, being pleasant to her. That can come halfway naturally by a paycheck, for example, so going out and earning your living. I am talking about inner strength. And believe it or not, gentlemen, you do not have it. You haven't earned it. You don't qualify for it. So why do you delude yourself and every poor woman you meet by thinking you can walk right up to her and be the man of her dreams? You'll be a man of her nightmares, won't you? Now, right, ladies? Right. We'll help you get over the pain of that man. You know that you are not born spiritual, right? How many of you were ever a little child? Remember what a mean little kid you were? And remember how it continued when you were a teenager? How many here was the most brilliant human being on earth at 18? How many still are at 40? I have said it before you, and already, gentlemen, your daydreams and your watching of romantic movies and reading romantic novels, already that has overcome the logic that I have given you, that you have to earn the right to be a decent man toward a woman, and only then will you ever have a right relationship with her. Let me emphasize a point. And all these ladies here will sense the rightness of what I'm talking about, even though they might not put it into words. Do you know why she wants nothing to do with you? Because she takes one look at you, that's why. She looks at the, look, look, see, there's something intuitive. And when she can look at the man, especially when he doesn't know she's looking at him, he's sipping the coffee, reading the book or whatever, and she looks at him. She can read his face, of course, not through any sheer brilliance or anything. It just comes naturally. Because she is eager to look around and maybe find a man, this isn't easy, to find a man who has strength. Not finding him because he's not out there like you are, men. She settles for him, which is her mistake. That's her mistake. Any women, you settle for a weak man, whose fault is it? It's after a few weeks or a few days, you wonder how you were so dumb. Could have been so stupid as to get involved with him. All right, let's switch it to the woman's responsibility now for a minute. But I want a man. No, you don't. Not first. You want a man somewhere down the list, maybe 20th. Which, come on now, come on ladies. Which would you rather have? A sense, a feeling, a knowledge of having a whole, complete life that will never end? Would you prefer that, or would you prefer a man? See? Now, intuitively, to use that word, you really know the answer to that, but it's covered up. Because you say, wait a minute, don't talk about eternity, I'm living in time. Don't you understand eternity is now? There is no time. Look what you have to go into to put all these pieces together. Look how much has been thrown to you already. Now, if you ladies had your values right, if you understood why you were here on earth, it would come to you very fast that it wasn't to go out in the world to meet a man who will take care of you. Listen, you're not going to find him in San Francisco or San Diego or Phoenix or Miami or any place else. But that's not the point. Even if there was one out there, what's that to you? Well, let's start at the beginning. What do you want out of life? Practically every woman on earth will answer that. Well, a little security, and I want a man who'll take care of me, a man who'll be nice to me. That's what I'd like. Have you ever heard of a spiritual answer to every single question that could ever be given to you? I assure you that there is a spiritual answer for every question. And I'll tell you what it was, and it's not original with me. It is, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall be added to you. Now, seeking the kingdom of heaven does not mean to seek Bill or Tom or Eddie or Sammy. Well, you've had your try at Eddie and Sammy and Tommy, haven't you? You didn't find anything of value in that, did you? Maybe, ladies, maybe God is more intelligent than you are. Maybe, and I assure you He has, God has set things up so that if you follow first things first, if you seek first the kingdom of heaven, then what an alert mind you'll have. You'll understand both female motives and male motives. You have such foolish, idealistic ideas that a man wants the same thing out of a relationship than you want. You want security. You know that. You want a strong man who'll make the decisions, and that's not wrong. That is absolutely right for you to want that. But you not understanding the whole story, you not seeing that. For example, a woman is much less sexed than a man. She'll go along with sex, of course she will. It's natural, she understands that. But because the sex drive isn't strong in her, she automatically assumes that it's not strong in the man. I know, she sees you looking at her and all that. I know that. But she thinks that you are a lot less interested in sex than you are because that's the way she is. Now, if she had a cosmic intelligence so she could see a male psychology, which she can see it, of course, without being it, she can see it, and she had an understanding of her own psychology, then she would look out at a man and see him with absolutely perfect judgment. And when she does this, there is no pain at all in saying no, 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 no to 10,000 men who come around and want to get her into the bedroom. Her own spiritual strength doesn't have to trade a thing. I tell you, you recall the last few talks we've had here, even the one this morning. We touched on the subject of being cared for when you've gone through your inner work, when you've earned the right to go out and talk to a woman, even talk to her. You can even talk to a woman. I see you during the banquet. You can earn the right, you women can also earn the right to look at a man and because you're free of your own false needs for him, then it's so easy to say, no thank you, which means, having put the kingdom of heaven first, I guarantee you, ladies, there'll be no more pain, as you've experienced in the past, of bouncing from one man to the next, giving him sex, cooking dinners for him, and hoping that he likes it. For heaven's sake. Why don't you cook the dinner the way you like it, and if he doesn't like it, he can go to the cafe. Always so nervous that you're going to lose him. Why don't you try it sometime? Why don't you consciously lose him? You know what he'll do? He'll camp on your doorstep day and night. Once he sees that you don't want him, all his stupidity and arrogance is going to fall away and he'll come back. Don't let him come back. He is a kid. Don't you dare let him come back. Any man who's arrogant in the first place And then because you show a little spiritual strength, and he suddenly, hey, maybe I'm going to lose her. I threatened her with leaving her. She's threatening to leave me. I better change my act. Never mind what his act is. You close the door and don't you answer it anymore. If you, after saying no to that man, that idiot, he doesn't even have good manners. He can't even talk cleanly. You put up with that. Don't you ever put up with that. Don't you ever again put up with bad manners, with rudeness, with anger, with arrogance, threats. Don't you ever again in your life put up with it. That big lunk will collapse in front of you. And aren't you glad to see what a kid he is? A dangerous kid. Aren't you delighted to get rid of him? You close that door. Don't you answer it when he knocks. And if it so happens that you stay home alone at night for 5 days and cry and agonize and throw yourself on your bed and turn on TV, but you can't see it because your eyes are so filled with tears. So you shut it off. You lie down in your bed and you get up again an hour later, turn it on again, watch it for 10 minutes, shut it off. You know what I'm talking about, no? I'll tell you what to do. You just do what you do. You just be what you are and do nothing else because that's all you can do. See how easy it is? When you're in pain, when you're lonely, when you feel left, when you feel rejected, he's run off with some other woman, and you want to break down and cry, go ahead, break down and cry all you want. Might happen for 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months, even 10 years. And at the very start, oh, you remember it? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Sure. At the very start, remember you thought this was the end for you, the end of your life. And that was a pretty good dramatic production, wasn't it? Well, isn't it strange? The man with the mustache left on Monday, and on Tuesday the man without a mustache come along, and you wondered what you ever saw in a mustache. Wrong again. Red hair, blue hair. It doesn't make any difference, ladies. If a man never comes along into your life who is strong, who is decent, I want you to know that God Almighty has made provisions for that for you. I wouldn't at all want to have the kind of a deity that you have. Because the kind you have is wishy-washy. Maybe he'll help you or maybe he won't. Maybe he's made provisions for you to get over your heartache on your love affair, and maybe he hasn't. This is not God at all. This is your idea of God, because you say, I want to get rid of my pain, but you don't really mean it. Because if you wanted to get rid of anything at all that is wrong for you, all you have to do is know that it's wrong for you and it goes away. And I'll tell you again, this has been brought out a couple times before. You really don't want the man back. You want to get rid of your own ache over having him gone, don't you? If you had no pain over him leaving, would you ever think about him leaving? Would you ever say, why did he leave? You wouldn't even think about it at all, would you? your mind would be free of him. As you grow, ladies, as you begin to get strong into the right way, I'm talking about spiritual strength, your very discernment of different men that you meet, you scan them. And that very looking at them, talking to them briefly, contact with eyes, that your spiritual scanning, looking, is also a message to him. The weaker you are, the more you're going to attract a psycho, a mama's boy, and everything else undesirable. Because he is watching you watch him, and he sees how your eyes lingered about 3 seconds too long as you passed each other in the hall, and he says, an opening. And he'll go after you. All right. But you have understood everything we're talking about. You have put the kingdom of heaven first. You understand that everything we talk about connects with love and sex and romance. Absolutely. Everything we talk about connects it, because it connects with the raising of your level of being. So you come into a room like this, or down at the office, or wherever you go, and that man over there, and that man over there, and that third man over there, they look at you. And they have certain desires toward you, namely, again, to get you in the bedroom. That's the first thing a man thinks about. I am telling you, that's the first thing that goes in when he sees a woman that's attracted. Can I get her in the bedroom? He can't admit that to himself. And you girls, you're so shocked at hearing that you can't admit it to yourself. You get it right down right now. That's the first thing he wants. He'll go about an oblique route, of course, to get to it, the dinner or whatever. That's where he's heading for, ladies. But you have grown a little bit. And the way you conduct yourself, the way you look at him, there is such a thing as a spiritual manner. And a woman can have it or a man can have it. There is such a thing as a spiritual way of talking, of answering someone, even of gesturing. And when he sees you in command of yourself, and if he's a charlatan, and he just wants to get you for the night, and he looks and he sees you, he won't go any further. Because, look, the darkness in a man can't stand the light of spirituality anywhere. In another man, in a woman, wherever, in a room full of people. They can't stand it. They know that. Look, the devil knows that he can never win over light. If you have light, that is the end of the trickery. He knows that you see through him right now. This happens in a split second. I'm telling you, in one eye glance. 1 second, the whole thing is done. And you yourself understand what is going on, ladies. You understand it without mentation. You don't recall what you have said, what I have said here today. You're not putting it into words. You're not putting it into thoughts. And you're not repeating over and over as you see the man. If I have spiritual strength, all will be well with me. See, that's talking, isn't it? And talking isn't strength. You know what is going on, but it's not verbalized. It's not thought about. And it is completely easy. Now, you girls recall something, because you've all had these experiences. Junior high school, down at work where you used to work, at the party. Remember, girls, where you met a man and you had early eye contact, and send a signal to each other. And did you notice that when it happened, when you looked at that man, maybe he was attractive to you, when you looked at that man, you were doubtful and you were scared. There was desire there, but a great deal of uncertainty. All right, it's happened. You know it. Now, this uncertainty is what a weak, immature man is looking for in a woman. This is what he likes. And he sees that, and already the bedroom looms up into his mind, eventually. The uncertainty, therefore, that you used to have is now displaced by something that cannot be described, cannot be practiced, cannot be memorized, cannot be worked for in the usual ways, but which can be earned. What do you do in return for it? Well, for one thing, ladies, you drop everything that is secondary in relationship to a man. Wanting a husband, wanting a boyfriend, wanting to have someone to have dinner with you. You don't want to eat alone, having a companion. If you put that first, which you have done, you will get what you have got. You want more of that? All right. If you sacrifice your desire to have comfort from a mere man, if you give it up, that is the earning part. That is the qualifying part. So that there is something in you that has a higher yearning than the man. There's something higher that says, I'm going to try and see what happens if indeed I do put the kingdom of heaven first, and see if there is a change in what happens to me when I go out into that world of men. And I know that it will. If you enter any relationship, ladies, with a man in which you have the doubt in your eyes and you have uncertainty in you, that is an absolute sign that there's going to be a wreck down the road there somewhere. As long as you yearn for a man, you may get a man, and you will have the usual pain, and heaven help you if you get hardened into the habit of loving the breakup, the inevitable breakup. Because this will be your repetitious pattern for the rest of your life. What is different then from entering a relationship as you've usually done it? What is different is for you to say, let me stop right here. And let me see, talking to you, the ladies in particular, just for now. Let me see, when I look at a man, that I hope I can get him. Let's see, I did that when I was 20. I did it again when I was 21, and 22, and 23. And every time, the prediction that the man in the chair up there made came true. And one way or another, it ended in disaster for me. So I'm going to see where I am making a mistake in the yearning to have a man. How would you like to have a man on your own terms? Not on the terms of your neurosis, but of your matured spirit. You can have him. What a horrible mess we've made of things that I should even have to talk about this. See, ladies, you have to face the fact that all those men are weaklings. They are. Every one of those men back there is a weakling. Now, that is their problem. Don't you make it your problem. I'm talking to you about being spiritually strong so you don't fall for their human weakness. This is what I'm getting at. Now, whether you know it or not, and we'll stop with this, the comfort, the protection of truth, of reality, of God is overwhelmingly protective. This is what you need. You don't put a man first. You don't put your desires toward a man first. You put reality first. You put reality first. You become spiritually strong, ladies. And from that day forward, when you are, you will know exactly what to do, what to say with every man you meet for the rest of your life. Then, if you should meet a man who is halfway decent, and you look at him, and you let him know, Mister. See, I've said this in reverse sometimes. I'm turning the other way now. Mister, you try to bully me just one time and watch what happens. I will close the door gently, but I'm going to close it and lock it. I have put up with enough men like you, and it's not going to happen again. That works both ways, doesn't it? We've been here for 35 minutes. Let's take a break. Every human being who starts along the spiritual path and continues to follow it runs into exactly the same experiences. You run into the same truthful ideas, the same surprises, same enlightenment, same jolts. You run into the very same thing because that's the nature of the path itself, regardless of the traveler. However, all travelers are different. Women have a good deal more emotion than men do, so they meet these same experiences in a different way. Two men, because of their background, their bringing up, would meet the same experiences a different way. In short, we're all different, so we react in a different way to what we meet, to the very same things that we meet on the path. Now, here's where a difference comes in. Because of this natural difference in conditioning and being beaten by your parents or not being beaten by your parents, your reaction, individual reaction to what you meet is different. And on the, what you might call the positive side, the truthful excitements are different. Now, first of all, have you had an experience of getting excited over truth? Haven't you? Of course. All right. It was just brought up a few minutes ago what the lady mentioned, that she was glad to be here. Among the truths that everyone meets, different people will react different to them. In other words, you might value a certain fact more than another person. What he values, you might not, vice versa. Now, I'm leading up to something, I will get personal a little bit. Leading up to something that from the very beginning of my own walking the path, I sensed was of vital importance to study thoroughly. When you see what it is, you'll see how important it is to everyone. But this happened to hit me as being something you must not avoid. A thorough pounding on the door of it until the door knocks down, falls down, and you enter into understanding of it. That idea was that of mental confusion, of human chaos. What can you think of this more important, right? All right. Because if we're confused That's what we have to study in order to break it, if we want out. Now, imagine a big prairie, enormous, hundreds of mile prairie. We're going to see what confusion is, the whole story. Enormous prairie. You know what a prairie is, flat and just a few bushes and a few little sunflowers out there. Untouched by man, unspoiled, nice and natural and beautiful out there. A businessman comes along. Now, a businessman is thinking of his business, isn't he? Self-interest. And he drives his car out in the prairie, and he says, I see by the business reports from Wall Street journals that the population is going to move out this way. I'll be, on the flat floor, prairie floor. And so he puts up a cafe out there, knowing it's going to be slow at the start, but puts a cafe out there, and to get to the cafe, you have to follow a road, right? He builds his own road out in that untouched prairie, builds a road out there. A little bit later, a man with a gas station comes along, says the same thing. He builds his road out there. Now there's two roads. Another man comes along, he's going to start a nursery for people who want flowers for the homes, hardware store, on and on, a regular business community. And each one has their own road to the self-interest, right? It grows and grows until that whole prairie is just covered with man-made roads, which sometimes they're parallel, they cross each other, they go in every possible direction. Okay, so far? Along comes you, along comes me. Here we want to cross the prairie. You know what we're going to run into, don't you? You want to drive your car that 100 miles straight across. See, nature is compliant. It yields so easily. We're so suggestible. So here's this spiritual traveler, this human being who wants to drive straight across the prairie. You know what he's going to do? When he comes to that very first road with the little banks on each side, he's going to follow it, isn't he? Naturally, you see, apparently it's going somewhere, and he hopes that it's going to go across the prairie. And where does it end up? At the gas station. So he says, I'll try another one. It ends up at the cafe. The next one ends up at the movie theater or whatever. Till the whole prairie is covered with one road, which, see, it can't occur to us when we're young. It really can't, to make our own roads, to defy all other roads and do what we have to do to reach the other side of the prairie. Now, there's one difference. If you want out, if you want to get to the other side of the prairie, you know what the word defiance means? All right. You read about social defiance in the newspaper and on TV, and it's all mad. It's sick. You're defying whatever has robbed you of peace of mind, of quietness, of understanding. So we have all these people trying to cross the prairie. That is what the mind is, filled with the ruts of the past. When you were 5 years old, you took in one rut from your father, another from your mother, another from your friends, all along the way until you can't conceive, and the mind indeed can't conceive anything but following the road that's already been established. And that leads to self-interest, doesn't it? Let me give you a personal thing, and I know that you've had similar experiences. When I was a young man, just out of high school, some friends came up to the house, an older man, sitting around, and he told me I should become a butcher. You know why? He was a butcher. He was bragging about how nice it was to be a butcher. And I thought, hey, that's great, I'll be a butcher. He's told me all the money he made. I did become a butcher. I went into another rut. And what if you follow the road, someone who's on the road in front of you, and you ask him if he's on the right road, do you think he's going to tell you the truth? No, nobody is ever going to tell you that they're going wrong, because then they have to admit that you're going wrong, because then they have to admit that they're going wrong, because you're both on the same road. Solution. Will you do it? You know what it is, don't you? You hit the edge of that prairie, and you've got that 500 miles to go across. I tell you, defy everything. Look, a road has ridges on the side, right? Do you know that those, little banks on each side of the road? Do you know that that is an unconscious intimidation that you can't see as an intimidation? There's a barrier. If Richard put a string across the room back there and said, don't pass, that string would keep you out. It can't keep you out, but it keeps you out because it hits the mind a certain way, right? You have an unconscious barrier. It's not there. It's in you. And you see the ridges, and you also think, if I suddenly turn right and go into the bank and go up over that ridge, I'm going to get bumped. Of course you will. You might get knocked out of the seat. We've been talking about that for years. Not only that, but you've crossed that first road, 500 more to go. Bumps all along the way. Nothing whatever prevents you from starting right here this morning, starting right at the edge where the prairie starts, and going straight ahead. 1,000 self-interested businessmen will scream at you. Right? You're disloyal. You're not patronizing my grocery store anymore. The wife says you're not as interested in me and you used to be. You read those so-called spiritual books. Right? Very, very hard because you haven't learned yet how easily people can make you feel guilty and ashamed. How can I get through to you that every human being on earth is a businessman or a businesswoman? And when they scream at you, you listen to them because you feel ashamed. All they want is your money. All they want is your life. Haven't you been selling your life to them long enough? Look at you right now. I'm looking at you right now. You've sold out. I am telling you that you don't have to sell out anymore. They can scream, they cannot hit. You start cutting I guarantee you, and those screams are going to come from here and out there. I told you to keep walking. In this case, I'll tell you to keep driving. Bump, bump, bump. It isn't going to be easy. Who said it's going to be easy? You're taking the easy way right now, which is the hard way, isn't it? Are you in some relationship right now, right this morning, with some other human being, anywhere, in a home, office? Are you in a relationship, you have to think about it, in a relationship with some other human being where you resent them? Where you don't like them at all? And you wonder how to get free? What a stupid question. How do I get free? You get free by being free. Why do you even ask the question how? No one tied you down in the first place except your fascination with the ruts and the fear of the bumps. We'll bump you all the way to the other side of the prairie here if you let us. And not to discourage you, but to inform you, there are a lot more bumps than you think. You think the first one, is the only one. You go on, there's the second and third and the thousands more beyond that. All right, so we've seen what confusion is. It was simply a mind that had been so badly conditioned, so filled with false ideas, that we don't want to go against it. Find some little place to start going against it, and I'll give you a little poem that will help you. Would you write down a little poem? And then we'll discuss it a little bit. This is anti-confusion poem. When feeling delirious, just go serious. Becoming serious means that you are no longer captured by anything that is alien to your real nature.